James Steinhubel on the community channel TVU, and we're with the People's Voice and Adam Stevenson, the conservative commentator. How you doing today, Adam?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Good. Got a good show. You got a really interesting guest today. Who do you have today?
Today we have Peter Downing, the leader of the WEXIT party.
Excellent. How you doing, Peter?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you guys today?
Excellent. So let's just jump in, give a quick WEXIT on the federal level, but WEXIT Alberta and the Freedom Conservative Party and the Wildrose Independence Party. We're all ears, sir.
Yeah, we came to terms of agreement between the WEXIT side and the Freedom Conservative Party side. So there's going to be a ratification vote by members of both groups at the end of this month. We expect that it's going to go well, but we have to leave it up to our members to decide. And if that's the case, then you're going to officially see the Wildrose Independence Party of Alberta. And it's an exciting thing. I first got into politics in 2015, just volunteering for a Wildrose candidate in the 2015 general election. So there's a bit of nostalgia of that for me. I was always attracted to the principles of conservatism, of fiscal accountability, and of not pandering to special interests. So to kind of see that sort of come full circle after I think a lot of us were let down with the merger between the PCs and the Wildrose. So to see that kind of come full circle again is a wonderful thing. It's really exciting. We conducted a poll, shows that we're right now in third place, even without a leader right now. So it's a fantastic time to be involved in the movement in general. So we look forward to that ratification vote at the end of this month, and hopefully a wonderful interim leader is selected.
That's awesome.
Yes. Go ahead, Adam. I've got lots of questions, so ask what you got, and I'm ready. So. Okay, yeah. So we're talking then. You're lifting up the Wildrose banner. Granted, Independence Party, but still, when you're saying Wildrose, you're talking grassroots policy on the way up, constituent assembly style representation, even in the party. We're talking referendum and recall. These are things that are part of the brand of Wildrose. Are we going to be on the same page here? What are you talking?
Yeah, I think so. Again, you hit the nail on the head. It's member-driven policy for sure, and basically, or member-driven in terms of what are the results that the members want to see, and allowing the directors, the board, the leadership, the volunteers, all those to achieve that, and. We're seeing a nice cultural meld going on right now behind the scenes with those two groups. That it won't just be you've got a WEXIT side and a FCP side. Is that it truly is going to be all in all a Wildrose side. And I mean the WEXIT brand was initially launched in June of 2019, to bring together all the separatist groups. So. It's nice to finally see in 1 year, in 365 days, total kind of seeing the fruits of that labor. So we're very pleased with the progress so far.
So two things that I see not stand in the way, but are certainly on your path as you guys as you're pulling it together. Wildrose leadership twice. Literally on the verge of forming government, left their mandate and merged with another conservative party. Is there going to be something in the Constitution that would stop that kind of activity?
Well, I think part of it, it's that independence piece, that either you support independence, you support that Alberta becoming free, becoming independent, or you don't. So I think that eliminates a number of the issues right there. What I expect is you're going to have more people from those other parties join up and take on the Wildrose Independence mantle. So I don't see it being the same sort of issue. In another sense, I don't see that issue of vote splitting really coming into play I think that we're going to be extremely strong in the rural areas anyways. So I don't expect there's going to be, I mean, there's going to be some competition for sure. We're looking to put runners on base. When it comes to the cities, it's a bit of a different story. I kind of joke to myself and talk to some of the board members, maybe, because nobody wants the vote split. And we've always said that you're just going to wait until public opinion changes, until people are sick of Jason Kenney, until people are sick of the UCP, sick of federalism. So it won't be a vote split. It will be, it'll be a major change in public opinion. We also have an approach to when we're talking about, and again, I'll maybe speak a little bit more for myself when I say this, is when you look at jurisdictions like the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Oman, the Gulf countries, they only started to do well for them when they kicked out the foreign interests and took control of their own natural resources. Last year we didn't receive any royalties because of the low economy. The year before was only 100 million. If the price of oil isn't going to go up, well, it's like Peter Lougheed said, why aren't we just selling it ourselves directly to the Americans? You can have one or two oil companies maybe taking a commission on the marketing or whatnot, and keep all the money for ourselves in a $185 billion GDP industry. Albertans need to see a lot more. The second side of it too is you've got Alberta that has $20 trillion in natural resources. Divide that over 4.3 million people. Each of us own 4.6. Each of us are worth $4.6 million. To clear off people's household personal debt will be a drop in the bucket. So I always say it like a good boxer is you've got to have a wicked hard right hand. But you need to be able to throw some devastating right hand, but got to throw some wicked heavy left hooks, but for the right purpose and the right reasons, for public benefit, not for special interest benefit. And I think that way we benefit all Albertans. And I think that the ballot question becomes a no-brainer. We want economic liberty. We want rule of law and social stability. We want independence, not just independence from Canada, but independence from debt slavery as well. None of the federal parties have anything close to what we have to offer.
So, I like the economic nationalism. That's we could have a whole another visit on that one. But now there's a wide swath when we're talking independence. We go from autonomy, options of autonomy. And have the federal, use the notwithstanding clauses and just exit and have the federal government would have 5 years to deal with us on an autonomy basis. And then from there, maybe negotiate a sovereignty association or have, complete independence. So you're going to have, now you're talking also, turning the axis on the party and welcoming left and right when you're talking economic nationalism. So you're talking a wide swath. So how are you going to handle that?
Are you talking? Is the question specifically how we're going to address economic nationalism, or where we sit on the autonomy to full independence spectrum?
The people that are coming. People are going to come that want sovereignty association. People are coming that want autonomy. People are coming that want independence. There are going to be people now coming that want economic nationalism. The people.
Yeah, I think really when we're talking about we're talking about kitchen table economics. We're talking about the economics of being able to pay your rent, your mortgage, being able to your car payments, your kids' university tuition, your retirement, stuff like that. I think as we continue to hold our ground, it's not so much that we have to go out and get the voters. They're going to come to us because the more globalist, the more communist, the more everything that everybody from the liberals, both the liberals and conservatives are going. People, if they don't know it right now, they're going to feel that the ship is sinking. And as long as we've got that strong, and everything is based on values, that we have a values-based nation, a values-based nation. Mm-hmm. All these good things get provided. It's the strength of a values-based nation that, whether you're a social conservative or you're not a social conservative, that kind of stuff, it's people always come to our country because of our Western values, our strength based on Christianity. If Justin Trudeau can wax eloquent about Islam, I am more than free to talk about the good parts of our Christian culture. So I think that people are going to look for that safety. They're going to look for that stability, and they're going to get on board. What we have to do is just hold our ground. Really, the Conservative Party, the UCP, have given up so much. They've given up so much in the way of conservatism to pander to Ontario and Quebec that really we've got such a wide playing field. As long as we're kind of to the right of the CPC leaders and maybe a little bit to the, not so conservative as the Christian Heritage Party, I think we're going to be pretty good. And I hope that answers that question. The autonomy and independence. So no, we're going for independence. We don't want to be ruled by a queen. I think we're good enough to choose our own leaders. Now, and if you look at the social situation in Britain, I don't think we need anything to do with that. We can acknowledge the good parts of our history, but let's have a clean break. A clean break. Let's have our own country. And no, this idea that we need mom and dad to hold our hand, or we need to somehow have some sort of arrangement. Once Alberta and Saskatchewan choose an independent government, they can automatically implement those autonomy pieces, whether it be through the notwithstanding clause, whether it be through the constitutional rights of Section 92. We can do that instantly. The politicians just have to do it. They've just been abdicating their responsibility. It's outright treasonous what our provincial politicians have been doing. But we can do the autonomy right away, and those things are necessary because we have to have our own police. We have to have our own taxation, our own firearms, everything there, pension. We have to be able to govern ourselves before we can literally and functionally leave. And by literally or functionally leave, I mean, we're not going anywhere. We're just ignoring, we're telling Ottawa to pack it in, and we're going to take care of our own affairs.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree with you in that sense. We don't want to be like the UK, where they're humming and hawing and trying to negotiate this and negotiate that. I think that if we're going to make a break, just make a clean break, right? It's like leaving a toxic relationship. When you have a toxic relationship with your girlfriend, you don't try and sort of work all the details.
Yeah, and you don't hook up. You don't hook up with them every now and then, right?
Yeah, then you work out the details after, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's just like.
Famous last words.
Get out. Get out.
Not only that,
I'll go live in a one-bedroom apartment for a little while, but I'm going to be okay.
You know what? Yeah. We haven't seen the sweet side of Ontario and Quebec. We've only seen the backhand and the boot heel. They love us, so they're going to want to keep us. So. You might not be up against a fight against an enemy. You might be up against a fight against super friends now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to really think about where the position's going to be. Yeah. It's very now on. I have one other question, Adam, and I'll let you back at Peter here. So we're talking about a transition, and this is not policy, and I'm just talking to the leader of the WEXIT party who's considering, there's going to be a vote for a merger on the provincial level, but still the federal level. So if independence was coming for Alberta or for the West, a federal WEXIT leader would have, some say, or not say, but would have to be in the fray if he was, really a political leader. So in that transition, we're talking autonomy. Are we talking an elected lieutenant governor and switch the executive powers of government, pull it out of the House from the majority leader, and put it with an elected chief executive who is elected, effective, and executive?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether we're using the term lieutenant governor, but yeah, definitely that's the right spirit of it, is that we're electing the executive to run the show, to take care of our own affairs, hopefully to run public service and put the same performance into public service as we see successful industries and brands do in the private sector. So, and that was always my drive into politics, is to deliver private sector results in the public sector. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we hope to see that for sure. Where the federal side, I mean, you know, the Western Canadian Bloc or Bloc Redneck War, whatever they want to call us out east, is we're loading up Parliament with friendly members of Parliament for the West. As WEXIT Canada, all we're really functionally doing is advancing the democratically elected policy and direction of the provincial parties at the federal levels. So our Alberta MPs are advocating on Alberta issues, Saskatchewan on Saskatchewan, and at the end of the day, when there is negotiation or not, but if there is negotiation, we have our friendly members of Parliament at the table, putting pressure again, pushing back even in the meantime, even in the intermittent stage between bad legislation that the federal government or the youth opposition wants to push. And again, having the national spotlight when it comes to Western independence issues, you know, being able to tell Justin Trudeau in the House of Commons, keep it up, buddy, you're not going to be a G7 nation anymore, I think would give a lot of us a high degree of emotional satisfaction.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
definitely.
You know, I just have to say one more thing. Are you familiar with the Knudsen Doctrine and the Confederation of Regions?
I've heard some of that stuff. I've heard the name Knudsen. I've heard that term being thrown around. If I'm not wrong, it's kind of, again, a loose affiliation. Everybody sort of governs themselves, whether they got a loose affiliation, maybe free trade, shared defense, that sort of stuff.
Based on region.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of, you know, ideally what Canada was supposed to be anyways. And I mean, and again, I'm not a constitutional lawyer, and I'm not a, you know, one thing I do like about British law is that it was very easy to read, and it was designed for the common person to read it. And it's definitely been bastardized and sophicized by our lawyers and judges, and we literally don't know our own rights. I would say go back to the English Bill of Rights, 1689. It's a wonderful document for many reasons, but I've heard of it. Put it this way. I look at it from a military standpoint. I don't look at it from, you know, necessarily what's ideal. I look at it from what are we able to do? What are we able to achieve? What are we able to accomplish? And if the fear of separation is strong enough in Eastern Canada, they want to reopen the Constitution and fix it and remove the systemic imbalances and injustices, sure, we can talk about that then. But we can't change that. That's up to the rest of the country. That's Ontario and Quebec. All we have the ability to do is to separate and to, you know, and to build those relationships with other countries, whether it's our conversations with our friends in America, friends in or other countries, which we do have with folks in the business and the political sphere. So at the end of the day, Canada, Ottawa has so much more to lose, and we are in such an economic, diplomatic, and geopolitical position of strength. We just need to realize it more, and that's part of my job, is to popularize that. And that's another, I would say, non-tangible function at the federal level, is to be able to have that sage and to popularize and let people know in Western Canada what our actual strength is.
Adam, anything on closing?
Well, a lot of it's a bit off topic now. But anyways, with regards to making the clean break, right, it comes down to a lot of our rights and freedoms as a sovereign nation to make those kinds of decisions and make those kinds of negotiations. And as long as you're sort of still in the original pact with the Canadian government, it's makes it somewhat difficult for us to have that advantage in the negotiations.
Yeah.
Listen,
yeah,
this is what we're going to do. Right,
100%. And just look at the government now. I mean, when the WEXIT movement exploded, and we said it was going to explode back with a Trudeau minority government. The next step is with some of the interim leaders that we're expecting to come on. We'll give it a little bit of a bump. The next one's going to be the Conservative Party leadership race. Nobody's expecting anything good for Western Canada there, and just look, nobody expected going into 2020 what we would have right here. A fake pandemic, we would have race riots, we would have a government hell-bent on mandatory vaccines, controlling the economy even more, forcing small businesses out of business, you would never have expected it. And do we want to be associated with these people? Do we want to be attached with these people? Would you invite them over for dinner? Would you trust them with your kids? So if the answer is no to all these things, then yeah, we're going into hardball negotiation. And at the end of the day, you got to realize what hurts your opponent and be willing to press on that pressure point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, this has been an awesome show. Peter Downing, leader of the WEXIT party, as WEXIT faces a membership vote to merge with the Freedom Conservative Party to form the Wildrose Independence Party here in Alberta. Adam Stevenson, conservative commentator. I'm just going to say two things. You can't count out Her Majesty, and watch out for the rise of the strongman. People's Voice on TVU. Thank you, guys.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay, it's Adam Stevenson, the conservative commentator on the community channel, TVU. How you doing, Adam?
Hey, James. How's it going today?
Very good, very good. We got all excited this week. We thought we were going to see a little bit of Minneapolis live from the ground, or Houston at least. So, but that kind of unraveled on us. Maybe we can pull it back next week. But we've got a serious topic. We've talked about it in person before. Fatherless homes.
Yeah, in light of everything that's happened in Minneapolis and all the riots and protests that are happening everywhere, and we see more and more cases like this where black males are being killed by white police officers. And a lot of people seem to think that racism is a serious problem, that there is a systemic racism involved and that sort of thing. But I prefer to try and look more at what the root of the problem is, because in America, in a lot of black communities, that's very, very dangerous. In fact, a black male is 71 times more likely to be shot by another black male than they are by a police officer of any race. And that really kind of makes you think about where the real problem is lying that is leading to so many deaths and so much social discord in these communities. So when we look at the case of fatherless homes, we realize that 7 out of 10 black children are born into fatherless homes. And if we look at the statistics in regards to fatherless homes, we realize that the greatest contributing factor to disparity in any community of any race is fatherless homes. Fatherless homes are directly connected to every negative social consequence that we experience in society. 63% of youth suicides come from fatherless homes. That's 5 times the average. 90% of homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes, 32 times the average. This is one that I think we should take particular note to, and that's that 85% of all children who show behavior disorders come from fatherless homes, 20 times the average, from the Center for Disease Control. Now, when I look at that and I think about that, and I see all these kids with behavioral disorders, and we're pumping them full of psychotropic drugs, maybe we just need a cultural change. Maybe these kids need fathers. And maybe that's where the real problem is. 80% of rapists come from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts come from fatherless homes. The children with fathers that are involved are 40% less likely to repeat a grade in school, They're 75% less likely to drop out of school. They're more likely to get A's in school. 75% of adolescent patients in chemical abuse centers come from fatherless homes. 70% of youths in state-operated institutions come from fatherless homes. 85% of youth in prison come from fatherless homes. And when we look, now a lot of people say there is systemic racism in America because so many Black people are locked up in prison. Now, that may be true. But I would like to think that it's not systemic, that the people who are being arrested and put in jail, the majority of them are actually guilty of crimes. I certainly hope that it's not a country where the government and the police are just arresting a bunch of innocent people and locking them up because of the color of their skin. That would be crazy, and that would be a serious, serious problem. But it doesn't seem that that's necessarily the way it is, and that tends to be a narrative that the left really tries to paint in this. And if we look at the fatherless homes issue, when you have 7 out of 10 children in a certain demographic that are born into homes without a father, these kids are growing up without fathers, without the proper kinds of structure and discipline that they need to become productive members of society. Mm-hmm. And the statistics surrounding that of the high percentage, 85% of youths in prison are from fatherless homes. So these kids who are coming from fatherless homes are getting into that pattern of life right away. And that the number of fatherless children in that community is directly related to the number of people in prison. I would imagine so. And like it's really changed.
No, I'm seeing it and I'm hearing it, and but don't you think that there's other social conditions that that are more rooted? Don't you think that the fatherless home is more of a symptom as opposed to a cause? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, aren't there deeper reasons? Aren't there reasons why these families are coming apart?
You know, I would say the indoctrination of a lot of people through the media and the diametric shift we've seen in our culture away from the traditional values that we used to hold is a big problem, right? And it's not just in Black communities where the fatherless home rates have increased. They have increased in every community.
Here's several of my wonders about this topic. Okay, so let's say fatherless homes. Okay, now fatherless homes. So let's look at a time where there was fatherless homes. Okay, let's call it 1919, 1920, the end of the First World War, right? Where there was serious number. The percentage of numbers of fatherless homes are probably similar to now. You know what I'm saying? Because the population was smaller, right? Lots of people died, man. Lots of people died.
The big underlying issue here is that a lot of people back then would get married and then have children, or shotgun marriages used to work just fine back then, and the tradition used to be, well, son, you knock a girl up, it's time for you to be a man and step up to the plate, take care of your family.
The obligation. Okay. So that being said, I'll accept that. What about in the 60s, where there was the nuclear family was at its apex,
right?
Everything that you listed there was still happening. where were those people? Where were those mistakes? Or where were those? I wonder what those stats are.
In the 1960s, things were a lot different, right? And these statistics were not reflective of what they are today.
No, but I'd be interested to see, people were still making those legal mistakes, right?
Yes, but not in the same numbers and not at the same rate, right?
And then why I wonder about those two times is now we look at now with these fatherless homes and these young people ending up in all these rotten situations. Are these let's just call it what it is. Are these irresponsible males involved with these young people causing the, or is it like those, the bad pride of lions where they, you know what I mean? You got too many nasty males around. Is that the problem?
Yes, partly no. I would say a lot of it has to do with the influence that they're receiving through movies and music and the media. And if we look at the music industry, especially, and we look at the mainstream rap music industry, for example, they're promoting, promiscuity. Rappers are bragging about how many baby mamas they got and how many kids they got, but that they don't take care of.
That's art, though, and I'm not. I don't want to get into saying that. Art is reflective. Is it commanding? Maybe, but it's more reflective. You know what I mean? These are the themes that are in their heads. In their culture, and it's reflected in their art, right? And the arts, some of it's cool. I like it, but there's deeper things at foot here. And other civilizations, other nations have tried to deal with this problem. Right, the Spartans, they would take the children. We tried it. We tried it with residential schools. You know what? My dad went to a residential school too. Like everybody at that time went to residential schools that lived in the country. I don't know if you realize this, but yeah. So unless you lived in the city, you know what I mean. All the rural kids went, and that so we tried it.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet you if they went into the European stock kids went to the residential schools, there's probably the same sort of nightmare going on there. Maybe not, but we've tried it. We've tried these different experiments, and they didn't work. So we're in the face of the decline. Let's not even call it marriage. It's the decline of the primal obligation to offspring. Right?
Yeah, right. And basically, I think the deconstruction of the nuclear family has a lot to do with it, right?
Well, that happens. If no one feels obligation for their children, the nuclear family means nothing, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Men are generally running away from their responsibilities these days.
Men and women, like the men and women are breaking apart, under conditions of financial stress. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. So if you're not tracking up, you're tracking down, you could lose your male or female, or you could lose a relationship because of that. Yeah. Obesity, people can't perform sexually in their marriages. Those marriages are breaking down, right? And physically or protection wise, men. If the world was a video game, yeah, they would be warriors, but a lot of them, man. There's so many cool organizations though that are helping out. You've got Ruck Up, like with Bo Engelbert, that's been on the station about training people up and learning community. Is that we have to intervene. We have to intervene. You're right with the stats, but what do we do? Do we bring everybody into communes and residential situations? How do we intervene with this? What's your thought?
Well, I think what we need to do is to change our culture. We live in a culture where promiscuity is celebrated. People are encouraged to wait until their 30s to get married. And, if you're not planning on you're going to try and remain celibate between the age of 18 and 34. Good luck with that one.
You know what, man? That it's been going on. Even when we look back in the 50s and 60s, and you said there was, there's less, marriage breakup. the same level of adultery and premarital sexual activity was happening. That's
necessarily true, though.
You don't think so? You don't think human beings have been getting together at every opportunity they can?
The evidence isn't there to support it either.
Okay.
Right? We live in a culture where these kinds of things are promoted and celebrated, and it used to be the opposite. If we look at our TV shows and our music industry, look at the cultural differences between them. You take your #1 hit TV show from, say, the late 1950s, early 1960s, like let's take Leave It to Beaver. That was a popular show. That's a good example, right? And you look at what that show's about, what the characters are like.
That's art again. That's art. Are you telling me that the music that you listen to the music, you pick music to teach you, or do you pick music to reflect how you think and feel? What do you pick music for?
Human beings, we are influenced by what we consume. That's an undeniable fact. If we can keep consuming all of this, the way of life that they're promoting through these things.
Do you think it's the arrival of anarchy and nihilism, and that Freud's concept of the will to destruction, is just the core of this libido, is a will to destruction? Do you think that the species is literally self-destructing?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think God made us to be self-destructive. I think that God gave us a set of instructions to follow so that we can have happy and prosperous lives. That would be the 10 Commandments. But aside from that, what I'm getting at is, you take that TV show and you take, say, the equivalent hit TV show or hit movie from these days, and what are they promoting? Drugs, promiscuous sex, violence, all that kind of thing. And our society has become hyper sexualized. And we can get into a whole nother topic about that, about how societies who are sort of in this age of decadence that we are experiencing right now are decaying and on the edge of collapse. And a lot of that has to do with the breakdown of their morals surrounding these kinds of things. But we could also look at the music industry. You take the #1 hit from the 1960s, okay, and let's use 2 Black artists just to show the disparity between these 2 time periods specifically. So we look at the 1960s. You take the #1 hit by, say, I don't know,
whatever, Frankie Avalon.
Yeah, sure, or the Platters, or something, right? Anyways, you take the #1 hit from that time period, and then you compare it to a #1 hit from our time period, say Nicki Minaj. What is the artist wearing? What is the content of their lyrics? What kind of persona and influence are they portraying and putting forward for the younger generation that is watching and admiring them? What sort of thing?
I hear you, but it's art. You know what I'd like to see from you, if you want to go down the art track, is what you want to talk about music and compare music. What books were in the New York top 10 list? And when you pick a song, I want to see what books were there, and what movies were in the top, the top movies of the year, and then let's compare. Because you know what,
we could do that.
I think you might be surprised. The same kind of challenging, it goes back to like Athens, man, and Rome. Like, we're not in any different kind of condition than we have before. I don't know. I'm at a loss. I hear what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that it's a bigger thing.
Right. Yeah, I'm not in total disagreement with you on that. But I think that, the cultural influences that we consume affect our culture, and they affect society, right? 100%.
Great, challenging, great, very insightful, and well researched. Adam Stevenson, Conservative Commentator, TVU. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. God bless.